Have you ever taken a moment to look around and wonder why it feels like you're earning a decent income, yet you still find yourself constantly short on cash and struggling to make ends meet? Well, you're certainly not alone in this experience. There's a new kind of poverty emerging that doesn't resemble the traditional, old-school version of financial hardship. No tattered clothes, no empty refrigerator, just a persistent, nagging anxiety about money that lingers even with a regular paycheck rolling in. You see, being broke in today's world isn't always immediately obvious on the surface. You might own the latest iPhone, treat yourself to a brunch outing with friends, or even drive a fairly nice car. But if a single unexpected bill could send your entire financial life into a tailspin, then you're not as financially secure as you might assume. In this video, we're going to thoroughly break down 18 revealing signs that you might be part of what we call the new poor, individuals who appear to be doing fine on the outside, but are unknowingly trapped in a subtle yet pervasive financial bind. So, let's dive right in and explore these signs together. Number 1. You've got a job, not a career, and AI could steal that too. You earn just enough to cover your rent, pay your bills, and maybe enjoy an occasional night out with friends. It's not exactly a luxurious lifestyle, but hey, it's manageable for now, as long as nothing unexpected comes up to disrupt the balance. You're fine with this arrangement, or so you tell yourself. Your job isn't your dream vocation. It's more of a means to an end, and you don't have much interest in climbing the corporate ladder because that would likely mean taking on more stress in a role you already don't enjoy. So, you put in the bare minimum effort, not enough to get noticed for a promotion, but not so little that you risk getting fired. It's a strange, unspoken agreement with your boss. They pay you just enough to keep you from walking away, and you stick around just enough to avoid looking for something else. Neither of you is truly satisfied, yet you both settle into this routine. Meanwhile, deep down, you harbor a vision of a different life, perhaps moving to the countryside, growing your own food, and starting a small rental business on the side, or maybe finally pursuing something creative that genuinely excites and fulfills you. But here's the harsh reality. You've been talking about these dreams for years, maybe even a decade or more, and yet you find yourself still stuck in the same place, year after year. Technology continues to evolve. Jobs keep shifting and transforming, but you assume you'll figure out a plan when the time feels right. Except, with each passing year, those options seem to shrink a little more. The world keeps moving forward at a rapid pace, and you're still waiting for the perfect moment to act. So, instead, you push these thoughts to the back of your mind and keep trudging along, pretending that nothing's wrong. Number 2. You're drowning in student loans or other debt. You invested in your education, earned that degree with hard work and determination. But now, in today's challenging economic landscape, it feels like that degree hasn't delivered the life-changing opportunities you hoped for. You're sticking with your current career path, not because it's your passion, but because you don't want to feel like you wasted all that money and effort on your education. Meanwhile, you've probably noticed that plumbers and electricians, tradespeople without the burden of student loans, are out there earning significantly more than you, often with greater job security and flexibility. And speaking of debt, here's something sobering to consider. You're not just broke, you're actually in the red, financially speaking. A homeless person on the street might not have much, but they at least have something tangible, like a few coins in their pocket or access to a shelter to get by. You, however, are in the negative. You own more money than you currently possess, and that's a tough and precarious position to be in. Even if you start earning more money, the first thing that happens is the bank takes its share. Your student loans, credit card balances, and other debts claim their portion, leaving you with very little to live on. And here's the real kicker. If you can't pay off that debt during your lifetime, it could potentially be passed down to your children as a financial burden. So, take a moment to think about that. Does it really make sense to keep ignoring this growing problem and hoping it will somehow resolve itself? Number 3. Your rent is eating up half your income, or you're still under your parents' roof. You're shelling out an outrageous amount of money to live in a tiny, cramped space, perhaps an apartment where the sink doubles as a bathroom counter. But hey, it's in the right location, right? That's the mantra they always preach. Location, location, location. So now, you're stuck paying premium prices for what feels like a glorified storage unit with basic plumbing. And here's an unsettling twist. For the first time in history, mortgages are stretching across generations. Your parents might not even finish paying off their home before they pass it down to you, along with any remaining debt. Congratulations, you've just inherited a financial obligation. Now, let's address this widespread belief that owning a home automatically makes you successful. A lot of people assume a house is a valuable asset, but what if I told you that the home you live in is actually a liability? It might sound counterintuitive at first, but think about it. If something is constantly costing you money, mortgage payments, property taxes, maintenance, and not putting any cash back into your pocket, that's not an asset. It's an expense. I know. It's easy to point fingers at the baby boomers, who seem to have it easier with lower home prices and fewer financial hurdles, and who still lecture you to stop buying avocado toast if you want to afford a house. But at some point, dwelling on that resentment won't change your reality. If you truly want to get ahead, you have to start playing the game differently, with a new strategy. But hey, maybe numbers and financial planning aren't your thing. Maybe thinking about money gives you a headache, and you'd rather just go with the flow and see where life takes you. That's fine, but just be aware that going with the flow often leads straight to a cycle of being broke. Number 4. Your emergency fund is under $1,000, basically non-existent. You essentially have no emergency fund to fall back on. If you suddenly stopped making money today, no paycheck, no side hustle, nothing, how long could you maintain your current lifestyle? Could you cover rent, food, and bills for the next 3 months without completely panicking or resorting to desperate measures? If the answer is no, then you're not financially stable. You're just scraping by, and that's a risky and vulnerable place to be. Think back to the last time something unexpected happened. Maybe your car broke down unexpectedly, your phone screen shattered, or you faced an emergency medical expense you weren't prepared for. What did you do in that situation? Chances are, you borrowed money from a friend or family member, maxed out a credit card, or sold something you valued just to stay afloat. Maybe you shrugged it off and convinced yourself that you don't need all that material stuff anyway. But deep down, that uneasy feeling lingering in your gut is your brain warning you that something isn't right. Instead of addressing the problem head-on, you might distract yourself by blaming the economy, capitalism, or whatever else makes it easier to avoid taking a hard look at your own financial situation. It's a bit like skipping a doctor's visit because you're scared they might find something wrong. The problem is, ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. It just guarantees that when the next financial emergency strikes, you'll be right back in the same stressful cycle. But hey, that's a problem for future you to deal with, right? Number 5, your assets aren't working for you. If you want to build real wealth, it's all about owning things that either generate money for you or appreciate in value over time. Take your car, for example. It might feel like a valuable asset because it gets you from point A to point B, but in reality, it's a liability. You've got to fill it up with gas, change the oil regularly, pay for insurance, and cover repairs when it breaks down. It's actually costing you money just to keep it running. So, think about it for a moment. What do you actually own that's making you money or increasing in value on a regular basis? Here's the thing. Most people are struggling financially because they're not thinking about their money in this strategic way. They spend money without ever considering how to make it work for them in return. For instance, we all love grabbing that overpriced coffee at Starbucks, right? But have you ever thought about owning a piece of Starbucks yourself? You can buy a share of Starbucks stock for around $100, and in fact, most investment platforms let you purchase even a fraction of a share for less than that. And here's where it gets exciting. If Starbucks performs well, the value of your share goes up, and they also pay out dividends. For example, Starbucks offers a 2% dividend, which means for every $100 you invest, you get $2 back every year without lifting a finger. The best part? There's no limit to how much or how little you can invest. Even a small amount can start working for you and growing over time. Number 6, inflation is outpacing your paycheck. Here's the harsh reality. If the cost of goods and services is rising faster than your income is growing, you're part of what's being labeled the new poor. Let's put this into perspective. Over the last 5 years, the cost of goods and services in the United States has increased by approximately 20%. That means everything you buy, food, gas, basic supplies, is costing you more with each passing year. And it doesn't stop there. Housing prices have jumped by about 23%, and even healthcare costs have surged, with medical services now costing nearly 50% more than they did half a decade ago. This isn't just a minor bump in prices. It's a significant and rapid increase, and it doesn't show signs of slowing down anytime soon. Now, if your income hasn't grown by at least 50% over the last 5 years to keep up with these rising costs, you're actually poorer than you were before, even though you're still working the same job. This is the kind of unrelenting financial pressure that people are grappling with right now. In fact, we're facing the highest inflation rates in the last 40 years. Think about that for a moment. It's the toughest financial climate most of us have ever navigated. So, that job you thought would always be a reliable safety net, it might not be enough to carry you through anymore. You've got to start thinking about how to adapt and find new ways to protect your finances. Number 7. Everyone around you is stuck in the same rut. It's easy to feel trapped when everyone in your social circle seems to be struggling just as much as you are. No one's really thriving, and it starts to feel normal to just blame the system for everything that's going wrong. Whatever the system even means in this context, it becomes a convenient scapegoat. Think about it. You can often tell a lot about a person's outlook and progress by looking at the company they keep. If everyone around you is facing the same financial problems and no one seems to be getting ahead, it's hard to see a clear way out or a path to improvement. There's no one offering guidance, sharing success stories, or showing you a roadmap forward. A lot of people, especially in these tough situations, start to give up. They stop making real, meaningful changes because the challenges feel too overwhelming to tackle. Mediocrity becomes the accepted norm because it seems like there's no better alternative. But here's the thing. If you're stuck in a circle of people who are all stuck themselves, individuals who aren't pushing to improve or pursue better opportunities, it might be time to look outside of that group for fresh perspectives and new ideas. You can still maintain those friendships, of course, but you're unlikely to find the answers to your bigger financial questions within that same circle. To make real progress, you'll need to seek out other sources of inspiration, motivation, and practical advice from those who have already found success. Number 8. Renting everything instead of building ownership. The way the market operates these days, it feels like it's deliberately making it harder for you to build any real, lasting wealth. Instead of owning things that can grow in value over time or that you can use long-term, you're stuck paying to borrow stuff, and those costs add up significantly over time. Take transportation as an example. You don't own a car. You just rely on Uber or other ride-sharing services whenever you need to get around. You don't have a bike. You rent an electric scooter every time you need one. It might only cost a few bucks each time, but when you add it all up over weeks and months, you're spending a lot more than you realize. Let's say you own that scooter instead of renting it. In a few years, you could sell it and recoup some of your initial investment. But when you're constantly renting, all that money is just gone forever, with nothing to show for it. For a lot of younger people, this culture of convenience is quietly draining their savings and preventing them from building wealth. The average millennial, for instance, will spend over $300,000 in the next 25 years just on transportation costs if they keep renting and using these services. That same money could be used for investing or buying an asset like a home if they opted for a more cost-effective solution like public transit, where that number drops to around $75,000. And this isn't just about physical items. Everything's going digital now. You buy a video game or some online content, and once you pay for it, it's gone. No reselling it or getting any of that money back. It's all about spending now and never recovering that value. It's a system that keeps you paying without ever allowing you to get ahead, leaving you with fewer tangible assets of value in your life while the market continues to profit. Number 9. Small purchases add up to big losses over time. Let's talk about those little treats and indulgences you think are harmless, but end up costing you far more than they should, all for the sake of convenience or a sense of status. Take Starbucks as an example. A regular cup of coffee there costs around $2.50. But if you made that same coffee at home with a simple machine, it would cost you about 36 cents. You're paying more than 7 times the price for the same thing just because of the brand name and the experience. It's the same with medication. A brand name drug can cost 5 times as much as the generic version. But guess what? They're chemically identical. The only difference is the label on the bottle. And let's not forget about designer clothes. A Gucci t-shirt might set you back $400. But it probably cost the company only about $6 to manufacture. You're paying for the name, the status, and the marketing, not the actual product. And even though it stretches your budget, you're still willing to pay that premium just to wear the brand and feel a certain way. It's all a clever marketing ploy making you believe you're getting something special, when in reality, you're just overpaying for something you could have for less. Number 10. Living for now at the expense of tomorrow. The new poor are often part of what's been dubbed the YOLO generation. You know, the you only live once mindset that's everywhere, especially on platforms like TikTok, where people constantly share the idea that you should just live for the moment and not worry about the future. You might hear a trending soundbite on social media saying you'll make the money back eventually, but you'll never be this young again, so you should just live a little and enjoy yourself. It sounds appealing and carefree, right? But in reality, this kind of short-term thinking can get you into serious trouble. What you're really doing is borrowing from your future self, and sooner or later, that bill is going to come due. Personal responsibility matters here. Let's say you've got $200 in your bank account, but also carry $35,000 in debt. Would it make sense to blow $75 on a night out with friends? Probably not. You've got to think about the choices you're making now and how they'll impact your life down the road. It's about making smarter, more thoughtful decisions rather than blindly following the next trendy lifestyle choice or social media challenge. Number 11. You're trapped in payment plans that only cost you more. Buy now, pay later deals are everywhere these days, and they're incredibly tempting. You pay a little upfront, get the item you want today, and spread out the rest over a few months. It sounds like a great deal at first glance, but here's the catch. Most people don't realize there's interest involved, and that interest can add up to a lot more than you initially bargained for. Let's say you want to buy a $1,000 phone. You might think, I'll just pay in installments, no big deal. And imagine you'll pay 4 payments of $250, totaling $1,000. But here's the reality. Most stores don't structure it that way. The average interest rate they charge ranges from 11% to 27%. So instead of $250 per payment, you're actually paying more like $300 per installment. That means by the time you're done, you've paid $1,200, not $1,000, for the same phone. That's an extra $200 you're shelling out just because you wanted to walk out the door with it today. So, just because you can afford the initial payment doesn't always mean you can truly afford the item. You're not just paying for the phone. You're paying extra for the privilege of delaying the full cost. Number 12. You're all digital, but cash might be the smarter move. What if using cash actually works out better than relying on cards or payment apps? Stick with me for a moment, and let me explain why this might just make sense. Imagine you've got $50 sitting in your bank account. Every time you make an online purchase or swipe your credit card, the payment processor, like Visa or MasterCard, takes a fee, typically ranging from 2.87% to 4.35% for each transaction. But wait, it gets worse. They often charge a flat fee on top of that percentage, which adds up quickly. Ask any online retailer, and they'll tell you how much they lose paying these fees. Let's follow your $50 through this process. You buy something for $50 from a store, and the payment processor takes 3%, so the store only receives $48.50. The store then spends that money on something else, and the processor takes another cut. After a few transactions, your $50 has dwindled down to about $47.30. If this keeps going, after 32 transactions, most of that money ends up in corporate pockets rather than in people's hands. Now, think about cash for a second. If I handed you a $50 bill, you'd have the full $50, and when you spend that money at a business, they get the full $50 too. No fees, no cuts taken out. On top of that, banks often charge you fees just for holding your own money in their accounts. So, when you really think about it, cash starts looking like a pretty solid and practical option, doesn't it? Number 13. You are your parents' retirement plan. A lot of people today find themselves in a difficult situation where they're not just dealing with their own financial struggles. They're also taking on responsibilities that aren't even directly theirs to bear. Let's say your parents didn't have the best financial situation growing up. No savings, no solid investments, and maybe not even a reliable pension to fall back on. Now, as they get older, they can't really take care of themselves financially or physically, so it falls on you to step in and help out. They need financial support, healthcare, and treatments that are becoming more frequent and expensive as they age. And while you're more than happy to be there for your parents and support them in their time of need, here's the reality check. You can barely take care of yourself. Your own finances are already stretched thin, and now you're expected to shoulder even more of the load. Every time you try to get ahead or save a little money, it feels like the financial hole you're in just gets deeper and harder to climb out of. You tell yourself, I'll figure it out somehow. But let's be honest, deep down, it's tough to feel confident or secure when you're already running on empty and carrying this added burden. Number 14. You're missing essential skills for success. You've probably got a few hobbies you enjoy, maybe spending hours scrolling online, checking out new craft beers, diving into random conspiracy theories about your favorite cartoons, or even trying, and failing, to turn your cat into an Instagram sensation. We all have those little passions and pastimes we love, but when it comes to real-life skills that can drive success, it starts to feel like you're just coasting through life without a clear direction. That's a defining trait of the new poor. They're alive and getting by, but they don't really know how to handle the big, important stuff. They just sort of float along, enjoying the vibes and the moment without much long-term focus. Maybe it's time to stop pretending that your Hogwarts house on Twitter is going to pay the bills and start facing the financial reality of your situation. Growing up, a lot of these folks received participation trophies, meaning they were constantly told they were doing great even when they weren't putting in the effort. This mindset fostered a sense of entitlement, and now they struggle to understand the true value of hard work and dedication. They don't know what it's like to actually bring something valuable to the table because, for most of their lives, someone else, parents, teachers, or society, did the heavy lifting for them. Number 15. Talking about your money gives you the ick, but you love following rich celebs. Talking about money can be a tough and uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. It's almost like it's taboo or a bad thing to focus on, right? You might catch yourself thinking, oh, there's more to life than just chasing money, which is true to some extent. But when you've got a newborn crying because they're hungry, needing diapers, and your bank account is sitting at zero, it's pretty hard to stay calm and philosophical about it. You might find yourself staring at those rich celebrities living lavish lives, scrolling through their feeds on Instagram or TikTok, wishing you could switch places with them for even a single day. The thing is, the new poor are often the ones who don't want to change their situation because doing so would require real effort, discipline, and a shift in mindset. That mindset that keeps you stuck is like a mental virus. It spreads and makes it hard to break free and take control. But the good news is, you can fix it with some knowledge, effort, and a willingness to learn. You can pull yourself out of that mindset and start building a better future. So have you noticed any of these signs where you live? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about it. Number 16. You're ignoring the side hustle boom. Everyone talks about side hustles these days, but have you actually jumped on that bandwagon, or are you still stuck in your 9 to 5 grind, believing that your job alone is enough to secure your future? Well, here's the truth. If you aren't exploring side hustles or additional income streams, you're falling behind in today's economy. The gig economy is booming, and it's no longer just for artists and creatives. People are earning thousands of dollars from driving for Uber, selling digital products like ebooks or courses, or freelancing their skills. The new poor aren't just broke. They're busy working long hours but still ignoring how extra income from a side hustle can provide the cushion they need to weather financial storms. If your only source of income is your job, then you're one unexpected layoff or emergency away from disaster. Number 17. You're too comfortable with the status quo. We've all heard people say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But here's the thing. The new poor are stuck in a comfort zone, thinking that things will somehow improve on their own without any action on their part. Whether it's your job, your finances, or your overall lifestyle, complacency is the silent killer that keeps you trapped. You know deep down that there are better ways to manage your money, invest wisely, or create passive income streams, but you keep putting it off, saying, I'll deal with it later. Well, later is the trap that keeps you locked in a cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. Sticking with what you know might feel safe and familiar, but it's this exact mindset that prevents you from growing and actively pushing for a better financial future. If you're not taking steps to pursue growth and improvement, you're actively falling behind in a world that rewards progress. Number 18. Your parents were further ahead at your age. You likely started working later than the previous generation, right? They grew up in tougher times, facing economic hardships and having to grind through a lot more challenges to get by. But here's the thing. You've got something they didn't: technology. With the tools and resources available today, you can achieve in 5 years what took them 30 years to build, all because of the tech at your fingertips that allows things to scale and grow at an unprecedented pace. Today, businesses aren't satisfied with just a modest 10% growth year over year. No, they're aiming to double their revenue every quarter because, with the right tools and strategies, it's entirely possible. That older generation has done well, no doubt, but they're playing by rules and methods that are frankly outdated in today's fast-moving world. It's only a matter of time before young people realize they can do it better and faster. Why? Because you're plugged into the culture, you know what's trending, what's coming next, and how to move with the times. If you understand this dynamic and leverage it effectively, you're on the right path. You're not poor, you're pre-rich, on a journey to success, just not there yet. So, if you're feeling like you're on that path to prosperity, drop pre-rich in the comments below, and let's see who's actually putting in the work to make it happen.